It is Thursday night. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another night of NWF Rewind.
We are live. You know, I like the fact, Dave, that we are live. And last week was great because we're live, we can interact with our fans, which we did after the show. It was great, and I love that. So anybody that has questions, please chime in at the, anytime really.
Chime in whenever you want.
But especially when we're done, because that's when we really have time to concentrate on questions and stuff. And yeah, that was great.
All right. Well, first off, I'd like to thank our friends at Liliac for allowing us to use their music. Hopefully, their tour bus issues have gotten repaired. So hopefully they're back on the road safely. Yeah.
And also, Dave, I want to, we lost a great wrestler this week.
Oh, yeah. I wish we had the bell handy so we could give him a 10-bell salute.
Right, but the Iron Sheik, for us in the NWF, here's one of the guys that was a huge influence on the league at that time.
Exactly.
Because even myself, being a big Hulk Hogan fan that I was when Hogan was in the AWA, it was the Iron Sheik that lit that match and started that fire for Hogan in the WWF. And
exactly.
And that's just it. And what a great wrestler. And it's just a shame that we lost him. Another thing I want to point out, Dave, too, our own NWF alumni. I want to, have, if we can get our thoughts and prayers out for Chad Ronnebaum, aka Rock Ronnebaum. He had a really bad bicycle accident this past week. He was a guest on with us, not too long ago.
Exactly.
But yeah, I was just in a bike marathon. I had a really, really bad accident, and he broke a few of his discs in his neck, and so thoughts and prayers for him in a quick recovery, hopefully, and for his family and everything. So it's just rough. Broke his nose, everything. It's just bad. So I'm hoping he can get a good recovery.
So positive thoughts to you, Chad. Hopefully we'll see you back on here soon.
Yep. So yeah, NWF alumni, they're like brothers to us, Dave. They're family, and when something happens, it affects us all.
That's one thing that a lot of wrestling fans may not understand is wrestling is a brotherhood. I mean, it sounds cheesy, it sounds corny, but in that ring, you're entrusting your life to the man that you're standing across the ring from.
Yeah. And
that forms an unbroken bond. I mean, look at you and I. We've gone years without talking. We've had our highs and lows of friendship, and nowadays a day that we don't talk goes by, and it's like, oh, is everything okay?
Right. And it's not like you said though. We went on this. A lot of us, we don't talk to each other for a while, but it's not because we don't want to. It's just because we've lost touch and whatever, and means of contacting. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just rough. I wish Chad a good fast recovery for that kind of thing, and it's just an accident, and hopefully he recovers.
Yep.
Healthy.
Full recovery.
Yep. Today's show, Dave, is going to be a fun one. Last week we were saying, gosh, what show do we want to do? Well, I thought we'd go back to, we haven't done a lot of the garage shows in our garage. We did the very first garage taping a month ago or whatever, show 38. Well, we're going to watch the follow-up to that show. Remember the show in that show, Dave, Chuck Roberts won the belt from Ace, and we talked to Ace about that a few weeks ago.
Right.
Well, this is the show that the decision was reversed. The powers that be, the committee, yours truly, made the decision to reverse that title change. So we're going to see the show
committee
there.
Of Crusher Crossen, Patrick Crossen, Sean Crossen, and
yeah. And the thing with the committee, that term, the committee, got used in all these early shows. There was some mysterious NWF committee that existed, but nobody ever saw. And nobody ever saw. Kind of like the Stanley Blackburn for a long time. We always wondered, was that a myth? Even though he really was a guy. But
right.
But the funny thing is, we did eventually get a committee. We called it the Producers Council. Jason named it, and that was an actual working committee. But that was another year from now, from this show, before that got formed. So
that committee got me to where I made it to in the NWF.
Yeah. And TV taping 39 from the garage. Second taping in the garage. This was Mr. X, Steve Engstrom, Mr. X's second show. And he has just a barn burner of a match right off the bat in this show. It'll be a fun one. With wrestler Dave Tougher Daniels. Tougher, one of our original NWF wrestlers from the very beginning. He came back on this show.
Very nice.
Kind of an interesting, thing there. He didn't come to any other shows after this, but he made this appearance to come back on the shows. So it was a wrestler returning to us, Tougher Daniels, and then we had just a slew of this show had the debut of the Bunis brothers. Remember I talked to Andrew about that when he was on? Yep. Those were friends that he knew that he brought into the show. So the two Bunis kids and Super D's are here. Rough Ryan, Dynamite Dude, a lot of the lightweights. Mean Dean, I believe, makes his debut here. Which is Andrew Carlson's brother, Dean Carlson.
Right.
Yeah, so Superfly Rich, Rough Roberts, Merciless Mike.
World Tag Team title match on this show, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's actually 3 title matches. In fact, there could be 4. But I know that the lightweight championship match with Dynamite Dude defending that against Bunis Beefcake. One of them Bunis brothers. That's one of them. Then there is the World Tag Team title match with me and Kelsey going against Madman Nash and Killer Campa. And that was a heated match, just like some of these shoot matches were. And then Ace goes against Superfly Rich. Not as much heat there, but still, they had their moments. So yeah, some title matches. And it's funny, when we watch the show, Dave, you'll see some of these shoots, we do so many of them when they're title matches. Sometimes you get a match going on and their guys are forgetting it's not a title match and they're shooting.
Yep.
So you get a little bit of that mixed in. So we'll see some of that. You'll see the aggressiveness. And also funny, listen for me in the background. When you see, like in this first match, Mr. X will grab the ropes when Tuffer's pulling him and the whole ring will lift. And you'll hear me yell out, "Don't grab those ropes!" Because I was afraid something was going to break.
Yep.
Because at that time, we didn't have the posts anchored to the... Eventually, we'd anchor the posts to the actual garage concrete. So they can't move up. Yeah. But this time, we didn't have that done. So the whole ring would be lifting. It was kind of funny. But yeah, so there's just some highlights of the show, at least, to talk about before we get going with it.
And, to anybody in the crowd that's in here, go ahead and say hi. We're here to chat with you.
Yep, you can comment away. We'll pull up your comments as they come. And like I said, this is going to be a fun show. I like the garage shows. They were it was just a really good atmosphere for the wrestling.
Yep.
There was complete control. I mean, it was our space. We didn't have Scott Tronson running in yelling at us for being too loud or anything like that we had to deal with in Group W, and then Fred Moore being under the rules of the school. So this was a fun time for the league. That was for sure.
Exactly. So, without further ado, in honor of Chad, let's rock and roll.
Yep. Oh, let me get this banner off. We don't need that anymore. Yes, there's the intro. We use that intro for a lot of shows.
Yep.
This intro was
and
used
also in case fans are wondering, there wasn't a whole lot of footage from the garage days to change it over to new footage yet.
Right. We used this intro for quite a while into the garage, and then we eventually changed up and made a new intro. This taping too, Dave, is kind of unique in that this kind of stuff. See that zoom in and push? These were things I did after the show was produced. Like I did this probably 30 years ago. I added these little effects to the actual master tapes. So then I thought, I don't want to do that to every show. I want to leave it raw the way it was. So you'll see these like pushes like this and stuff like that. Just things I added later.
Oh, so we're in LA for this show.
Yep. Same with this. See these fancy graphics?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, now for some commentary.
So,
Merciless Mike and Kid Kelsey.
So Mr. X, Tougher Daniels.
Okay, there was the bell.
Even though this isn't a title match, Dave, this is for the most part a shoot. This match. It wasn't nothing scripted here, really.
Well, Kelsey, how do you feel?
I only see one drawback to the garage days.
Yeah.
Right off the bat here, the only thing I see that's the drawback is the low ceiling.
Low ceiling and those shiny blue tarps in the back instead of a nice cloth curtain like the studio had. Those would be the two things I would say, Dave. You're right, the small ceiling,
His shoulder came up.
Yep. So we didn't, Steve, everybody laughed because Steve goes, yeah, I saw it too. About his shoulder being up.
Yep.
So the ceiling was low, and I remember Rich Taylor. Remember Rich Taylor? We've seen him a few times, our announcer back in Group W.
Yep.
Well, when we got into the garage here and I was getting ready to do our first show, Rich happened to be in the neighborhood, and he just stopped in. And he went up into the ring, and I remember he stood in that ring, Dave, and Rich was really tall. And his head was just at the top of the ceiling. He goes, Sean, how would I ever announce in here? I can't hardly fit. Yeah,
And
that was funny.
Tougher Daniel
I really wish Rich Taylor would have stuck with this, more and been in it, because he was such a
and the
great,
swing's gonna
great
break
announcer
if these
for
guys
us.
keep this up.
Right.
Yeah,
Very
You
professional
see
the way he.
Tougher, he's got his
Is it
foot
okay
hooked
to
under
look
the
at
rope.
ref here compared to the
Yeah.
wrestlers?
Well, using those ropes to your advantage. You'll find in our title match, I do the same. We all did it a little bit, but Ace was the king of it. Make no mistake.
These two are equal in height.
As the former governor of Minnesota said, win if you can, lose if you must. Always cheat and never get caught.
Yep. That he did.
Yeah.
And the question, is it cheating if you don't get caught?
And there is a choke by
It's kind of like that question: do you hear a tree fall in the woods if nobody's there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And no, there's not.
So that Mr. X mask, I would love to find one of those again, just to have it, because that was such an iconic look to that mask when it was white like that.
Right.
It's just hard to find masks like that anymore.
That, and if we ever did have a get together, Steve could don the hood again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for laughing, but I was just looking at that poor ref.
Oh, Adam.
Adam just drowning in that shirt.
It's that too, but the guys always. I think Mike comments on here in the commentary is like, it's pretty funny to see the size of the ref compared to the wrestlers here. Because he's, even though Steve wasn't a big guy, to us kids at the time, he was big.
Yep.
So, and Tougher was a big kid, so he's as big as Mr. X. So, but you can see they're just shooting here. There's nothing predetermined or scripted here in this match.
Exactly.
And, it's just basically real for the most part, but wrestling, not fighting.
Exactly.
So I got a minute left. But you know what I should have done, Dave? I think about this all the time with the garage. That shiny tarps. I should have just went and bought blue, like bedding sheets or bed sheets that wouldn't have the glare. That you could buy at Target. That would have looked better.
Yeah, because at that point in time, we only had Target and Kmart in the area.
Yeah. And blue sheets, you get the cheapos. They're not going to be that expensive.
Back in the day when we had this going, there was no Walmart in Minnesota.
No. But I remember that we got these blue tarps. We went to Menards for that.
Yeah, to be honest, the bed sheets might have been cheaper than the
tarps.
Yep.
See how the whole corner came up on there?
Yep.
Yeah. And Adam's trying to push it back into place. Adam, Dynamite Dude, the referee. Oh, he was on the ropes, but the 3 count went through. Adam didn't see it. What can you do? A ref can't see it? Ref can't see it.
Yep.
There's that committee, Dave. This will be brought to the committee, Mike said. There's Merciless Mike right there, speaking of which, me and Mike.
Match will be beefcake. Okay, Bunis Beefcake. Yeah, Bunis Beefcake versus the Dynamite.
So right here we had Sean Crossen and Mike Ackerman.
Today we have a fine audience here. Okay.
That's the other thing. This was the first show that we actually did the studio audience and really embraced it. So all the wrestlers are the studio audience, along with a few guests that were there. We had some friends of friends that were here as well, watching.
Escorted out by Kid Kelsey himself.
So Troy Bunis there, Bunis Beefcake.
It seems a little klutzy so far. Anyways, how do you feel to be wrestling our finest lightweight division wrestler? Good. Okay, few words for
for a babyface, Kelsey sure was a heel.
Oh, he wasn't he though?
You didn't get me on for no 3 count. I'm gonna bust your butt next time round. You got any guts? Get in here. I'll see you next week, the week after. Try me.
Thank you. Thank you for that word, Mr. X.
You know, that interview that X did there, where he just totally unplanned, but that
Right.
really put the light bulb off in a lot of us about, let's start thinking about our interviews, you know, and how to come off.
Don't mess with anyone.
That was, I remember that being him having that little promo there, that really had an impact on me.
Okay, now for some commentary
Yep.
with Crossen and one of the Super Ds.
There's Andrew Carlson, ace reffing.
Okay, welcome back. More NWF action.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could tell Todd and Troy apart.
Oh, the Super Ds?
Yep.
Later.
And that was tough.
Because right there he just said, let's go down to Crusher Crossen and one of the Super Ds.
One of the Super Ds, yeah. Matt could tell them apart, but Matt lived across the street growing up with them. He seen him a lot, you know.
Right.
After a while, I could. Towards the end of when they were around, I could kind of tell them apart.
As you hear the fans.
Where's the bun?
You know why the guy that says where the beef is?
I had to mute
You know,
Kelsey there. He got a little. Started talking like you can't talk on public access. Scott Tronson monitors all this, so if he catches us saying the wrong thing, he suspends us like he did on show 38. You know, when I said I'm pissed, he
Yep.
suspended our show for me saying that.
Boy, how times have changed, huh?
Yeah.
Did you see the nerds?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you hear the crowd in the LA auditorium here.
Yeah, we're at the LA auditorium, Dave. I hear.
That's what I said last time.
Must have been expensive getting everybody there.
But we take the set with us. That's why it's always got the same look.
Oh, okay. You know, kind of like Monday Night Raw and all that
Yeah.
on TV nowadays, you know.
Yeah.
Looks pretty much the same everywhere they go.
Yeah. So Dynamite, this is a shoot, obviously. It's a title because it's a title match, and I think Troy might have been a year older than Adam. He actually handles him here at times, but like I said, Adam was just in the neighborhood, was kind of a tough little kid, and so
Yep.
he can hold his own. Even, you know, with some. I remember when Dynamite Dude got a shot with Ace in a non-title match, and he held his own. So yeah, he can.
Ooh, kick to the shoulder.
It's interesting watching these matches when they're actually trying to win.
Yep.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
But at the same time, we're losing the art of the professional wrestling side of things a little bit.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a sword that cuts both ways. You know, it's like you like it, but yet you don't like it. I like the
You know-
competitiveness. I like the realness of it, but I don't like the non-flashiness.
Oh, and he missed, but he got some down.
You know, I often wonder if my
1 minute left.
win-loss record would have been better if I would have done more shoot matches.
Yeah. But we just weren't doing shoots at that time at all.
Yep.
45 seconds left.
And you know, at that point, I was just like, to be honest, when I was in the league, I was just happy to be in the ring and
They're in the stands.
pay my dues to be a
Yeah.
part of the company.
But Troy Bunis, talk about it, you know, getting his, this was his debut, and this is when he gets a title match with going all out, trying to win the belt. And
Yep.
20 seconds left in the match. 20 seconds. 15
and you can hear the crowd, you know, they're cheering for their favorites.
Ladies and gentlemen, throw down by Dynamite Dude. 10 seconds. Got some down.
Yeah. So,
4, 3, 2.
and this is going to be a time limit.
Ring the bell.
Yep.
A lot of, this is very common, folks, in these shoot matches that they have draws.
But Dynamite Dude still keep his belt.
And that's the thing. That's what Ace was trying to tell us, Dave, that
Federation.
you get a draw, you win when you're the champion.
Yep.
Los Angeles, California,
And
the LA
it doesn't take
Auditorium.
much to figure that out. So that's why that,
Right now, we are now right
you
here in
know,
Minnesota.
just weathered the
We're gonna
storm.
get you back to LA for some more
But
action.
that
Some
ring,
more
those,
match now.
I was going to say the ring in the beginning was 10 feet by 10 feet. Pretty small.
Going to take on Superfly
By the
Rich.
time we left the garage, we modified that ring so it was 15 by 15. Kept making it bigger like every other show.
Okay.
Yep. Eventually went to 12 by 12, then it went to like, I think 13 and by 13. Then we went to 14 and 14. I mean, just kept getting bigger and bigger as we were able to make it bigger.
With controversy is not the NWF champion. How do you feel about thinking that you were the winner and then just finding out that the committee has decided against it?
Well, hey, that's no big deal, Sean. I got a big surprise for you next week and everybody in NWF, and we'll see.
Okay, we'll find out a surprise.
Should I get you some tissue paper here? You're crying over the belt.
I have a match with you. I have a match with you later, Crusher.
See, this is where Kelsey and I were turning heel, Dave.
Now that hit the opponent as you
Remember, we went heel last week. Or I did.
Yep.
Kelsey wasn't there. So we're heels, really.
Okay, our rep is
But,
Kelsey here. Okay.
So yeah, Ref House Roberts and Superfly Rich, and this is like one of those matches where it's not an intended shoot match, but as you can see, that's why I'm saying when you have a lot of these shoot matches, sometimes guys just forget and they start,
Well, as far as
you know,
I've
going
wrestled
at it.
from city to
Not all the
city,
time.
Yep.
West Coast, This
Sometimes.
is about the finest I've wrestled. Except for just a few minutes ago with Puffer Puppy Dog Tikey, whatever his name is. That's the worst piece of wrestling I ever seen. But as far as the rest of it goes,
Of course, you
I
hear
got the upper hand on everybody.
that's Steve,
Mr. X.
Mr. X talking.
Put me down for the count. I can go to time limit. I can go to a no disqualification. I can go to anything anybody wants to put me through. I'll be there anytime, any place.
Thank you. Okay.
But you know what? You can really hear,
Word from
you know, that Steve. You can really hear Steve's commitment at this point in time. He was really vested with what we were doing.
Yep.
As I was saying, I know you're crying over the belt. I mean, I know you were so happy when the belt was changed, but the committee decided the belt goes back to Ace on account of that poor reffing, poor judging there. The shoulder was up. By the way, Mercer,
That shoulder.
you're gonna see that match.
I'm sorry, Ace, but your shoulders were down. Remember today we watched it.
Yep.
Okay, well, I do have a match.
Classic,
It was-
classic Vern Gagne AWA change there.
Okay, now back to this match. Rich, right now at the time, Rich.
It was
is
clearly a
with the hair.
clean pinfall,
Now
just
Rich,
the committee
Rough House
was against the winner of the match.
Yeah. And honestly, like I talked about, I just
talking to Crusher now.
and I told Chuck and I talked about this. You know, it's like, and when he agreed to give the title back, I just wasn't ready for him to have the belt yet, and he understood that. That's why he agreed to, you know, let it go back.
Nash is in
Yep.
at the corner now. Yes. Campa and Nash are now in the same corner. It looks like I've done the
So remember how Chuck said he has a big surprise for us?
Nash
Yep.
and Campa are now.
His big surprise was his tag team partner, Todd the Bod.
Oh, Crusher going over.
And that's how the Ring Warriors were formed.
Do some good.
Ah,
Yeah.
I see.
That's why Crusher was calling Madman a traitor. We have a half a minute left. We have another match going on in the ring. Oh, Camp coming over.
Campa coming in interfering.
Superfly.
Lots of interfering in this match, Dave.
Okay. 15 seconds left in this match.
Everybody wanted to be a part of the match.
9,
Yeah.
8,
Look at all the people up on the ring apron.
6, 5,
How are the fans supposed to see with that many people on the ring apron?
Right.
1.
Another time limit. We're trying to get everybody out of that ring.
Everybody, clear the ring. Clear the ring area. I said clear the ring. Clear the ring. Good job now. Go. Okay.
Finally, we get a little bit of order restored.
For a moment.
Gentlemen, you see the best in the National Wrestling Federation, NWF.
That little makeshift NWF thing on the mic.
Match, we're going to see Crusher Crossen to go against Merciless Mike Ackerman in a grudge match. You don't want to miss this one. Don't leave the television set for this. Let's go.
Yeah, this is the first time Mike and I have had a match. Long time. So this here, I put these in after when I did all that fancy stuff. And what was on here originally on the video was like technical difficulties. Please stand by. And I was trying to make it look like we really were live.
Yep.
So I figured this is ridiculous. I would overlay that with these like ratings and things like this. Anytime you see this kind of stuff come up, I'm just covering up that technical difficulties thing I used to have on there.
Roberts. Ruffles Roberts. Hold it. I was the referee and Chuck Roberts did not win the match. It was a draw. What about outside interference? There you hear it. There was outside interference. There you hear it. No. Hey. Okay. Tampa and okay, folks. You see.
The former ref arguing with everybody about the decision.
And then they're getting into it again. That's why I was saying, Dave, that match was kind of a shoot.
Yeah.
Ackerman and Mike and I, we're not shooting here. We're working together. From what I remember.
And Crusher Crossen. And now with some commentary with me.
Down to commentary with me.
Yeah. Once we get these guys out of the ring, Mike and I are trying to have our match. Nash going after me.
Get out of the ring. Clear the ring area. And you just see them going. Crusher Crossen puts Nash into the ring post.
He hit the back of his head on the post when I pushed him in there. That's why he's coming after me.
As they are going. Oh, they lock up with a two headlocks. Tries to flip him over, but does not succeed. And they look kicks to the midsection. And tries to grab the ropes, but does not succeed.
Yeah, like one of the only guys not here that was usually with us was Brian Peterson.
Yep.
He grabbed it.
What happened?
Oh, puts him in the bear hug. No, not the airplane spin. As I thought
You were sitting there on the ring, grabbing the rope.
Oh, I was mocking Mike for Ace, how Ace would grab the ropes on him. That was a real sour spot with Mike for a long time after that match he had with Ace. So I was just grabbing the ropes, reminding him that you can grab the ropes. Yeah.
Stomps on the chest of Crusher Crossen. Kid Kelsey puts the little leg of Crusher Crossen on the ropes. And Merciless goes right back. Tries to put him in there.
Mike's famous airplane spin move that he always did. And notice our heads hit me, and I don't know which if that's Todd or Troy, but one of the Super Ds, our heads hit. I remember that. I seen stars.
I can see you holding your head there.
Yeah.
Kelsey with a few blows, with closed fist in the midsection. Tries for him, but
So yeah, the ring a little too small. We gotta get that ring bigger so we don't have those kind of things happening.
goes with a
Yep.
double arm smash.
So how long did this ring setup
Yes,
take?
puts him in a headlock.
Oh yeah, because it didn't stay always set up, right? So it's like
Right.
it was basically in like 3 sections. The
Oh,
ring
okay.
platform. So it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too hard.
Foreign object to the head. Oh.
Yeah, plastic soda bot isn't gonna hurt too hard or hurt too much.
Kid Kelsey. Killer Campa. Foreign object in. You threw it in, Campa.
So yeah, it didn't take too horribly long. Right now though, we don't even have a canvas or any kind of tarp for the mat. It's just like one of those low mat carpeting.
15 seconds, folks.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'd get like a nice blue tarp, kind of like what we have on the back for the mat cover.
Yep.
Throws a chair in. Where are these foreign objects coming? It is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
Another draw.
3, 2, 1. There you hear the bell. There.
Not, I can't tell you why we had so many draws, especially in a match that wasn't title, but
We cannot have these.
Well, you had to continue the feud somehow.
Clear the ring.
right.
Clear the ring area. No fights. Come on. Just get out. I know how you feel, Merciless. Merciless. Crusher, someday I'll repay you because you are a traitor. Someday I'll repay you too, traitor. Crusher, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, if Merciless likes to cheat in the matches, I think you better be a bad guy. You're the one who was cheating. And as for you, we're gonna get those belts from you whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Me and Kelsey had that title shot, and that was what was on my mind, Dave. I wanted those belts.
Yep.
Last match, time limit ran out. Now let's go back to LA for a
Of course, I
lightweight
won't give
match.
anything away on that one.
Super D2 is going to take on Rough Ryan.
You always like it to play out, so.
With
Well, you know, part of the fun of watching wrestling is to watch the
Right.
story.
I ever
Yep.
see you in the locker rooms, down the street, on the television set. Nobody does that. This is the first match in history I got a time limit.
well, folks.
They threw something at me.
Okay. Now.
Well, that means you're doing a good job as a heel, right, Dave?
Oh yeah.
Oh, thank you. I needed that. Okay, now, folks, we have Rough Ryan, and Super D2 for this exciting match. With in
Super D2 against Rough Ryan.
Of course, Super D1, and in Rough Ryan's corner, Dynamite Dude. Okay, now for some commentary, down to ringside. Ring the bell.
I guess you
This
didn't
was-
know who was going to commentate for this match.
This was the first show, Dave, too, where Steve brought us an actual bell. It's one of those fire bells, but it was still hooked up to the thing. So sometimes this thing would start going off, you know, and we had to. In fact, I think it happens on this show. Matt has to cover it, and he says, "I think we got a woodpecker around here somewhere."
Excuse me.
We'll probably hear that go off here eventually.
Trying to get I don't know, as Rough Ryan grabs the ropes, kicks him. Oh, what was that? That was such a good
So to our fans that are watching,
drop kick.
what do you think of our studio that we have
Oh, and
at this
see a
point in time?
Smash to the head of Destroyer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. Do they like the garage look, or do they like the Group W look, or do they like the Fred Moore look,
As you hear
or the live events? I'm always curious what they
No.
what the fans like, what environment they liked watching from.
Exactly.
We did a poll way back when, and trying to remember which one. I want to say the Fred Moore stuff is what most people were thinking, but
Oh, but that ring sucked.
no. But as far as what they enjoyed watching the most,
Right.
yeah.
Rod Roberts, my new name, right? Yeah. Here, Crusher. All these big threats that he's making here against Merciless. Well, I got a little surprise for him next week here, next show. Newcomer, I'm not going to say who it is because it is a surprise, little dark horse coming in. But I guarantee that this surprise Crusher will certainly meet his match as if he already hasn't with me. But anyways, his little threats, I know Merciless Mike is not too happy with, or neither is he scared with. Well,
Interesting comments by Roberts.
Yep.
False Roberts. So,
Crusher
Oh.
chanting his threats again.
So, Gizmo, I loved your very first videos filmed in the bedroom. I mean, you'd be in basement, where you guys would be jumping off the dressers. Yeah, in the basement shows. That was real. That's the very beginning. We don't even have a complete show of that stuff, but we have, you know, lots of
All
yeah,
the matches were fought hard.
Well, yeah, but I think, you know, in those early days, it was very, very raw, I guess you could say.
Right.
Kind of like these matches on this show, you know, where it's just more physical, as far as maybe not the fancy moves and stuff, but definitely physical. This is an original thing that I didn't cover up. It was, you know, with ratings or anything.
Right. Yeah, I never was able to.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're
I never saw that.
match.
I just heard about the live event and showed up.
Yeah, because you didn't have cable, so you wouldn't have seen it.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go join the match in progress. That last match, by the way.
Well, so much for the last match. I don't know where these. I had something I was using with these ratings. I think it was stuff I had accumulated later on and just on paper, but I don't know how we came up with this list. But again, all I'm covering up is technical difficulties. Please stand by. That used to be on this particular show, and I wanted to just get rid of that and put something more relevant. And again, the reason I kept doing these technical difficulties stuff is we were trying to say we were live at the LA Auditorium, and I wanted to make it look like something really was happening. But there was like some kind of a problem with the feed.
Right.
Which happened all the time in those days. It's funny, like stuff like that now never hardly happens. You know, when stuff is live, it usually goes without a hitch.
Exactly. Okay, question for you here, Crusher.
Get an official decision from him.
Did any wrestlers stay with you from the very first show to the last? Hang on, let's hear what Rich is saying here.
Everybody was saying that Crusher had on to Campa's feet, and so I'll call it a draw. Hey, okay, you hear that? Let's see what you think. What do you think, folks? Okay, and now, folks, we have an exciting match now. It's
So,
Super D's.
Back to that comment.
Twins, I should say. Me and Dean and
Did anybody stay with us from the very first show to the last?
beat up Brian, I guess. Beat up Brian.
No.
Okay, see?
No one stayed with us from the very first show to the last.
Well, okay.
Because I'm thinking of all the guys. The guys that were on the very first show was myself, Lane, Campa, Tougher,
Beefcake. Okay,
and Milton Warner.
Commentary by ringside. Ring the bell.
And Mark Ackerman. And I don't know if Mark Ackerman was on the first show. No, he was on the second. So yeah, those were the only ones. So Campa came close. Campa was with us from the first show all the way through show 50. So he was through half of them. The only guys that were with us the longest would have been Kelsey. Because when Kelsey joined on show 27, he stayed with it the whole way from there.
Yep.
That'd be the closest.
Until you sold it.
Okay.
Yep, until that happened.
Come on, there might be some confusion.
And then
This is
another question for you.
here is Andrew Carlson.
Notice that there are some episodes missing from the 84 season. Are those? Yeah, so I talked about that when we aired that show 7.
Okay.
So the reason that's a big gap is because when we got them in the Group W studio, when we got the ropes to go around the stage,
That is my brother.
that
Ace.
was the look I
Me
wanted.
and Dean. Oh,
For the first time, we had what resembled the look of a wrestling ring. So, and this is what I wanted, and I was happy with it, and
Let's get some professional.
Then I looked at the other shows that I had at that point without that, with basically just the stage, like we seen in that show 7. I thought, God, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to see that anymore. And so at the time, I'm thinking, I'm just going to forget this, and we're going to move forward with this look. And VHS tapes were really expensive, and so I didn't have enough money for new tapes anyway, so I had to start recirculating these tapes. So I would record the new shows over the old ones. So all those old episodes in those days were basically recorded over, and anything we have, we have quite a bit of that basement stuff, but it's bits and pieces. It's part of a show here, part of a show there, because it was left at the end of some of these tapes that were recorded over. So that's why we have that. And then Charlie Lane wanted to tape when he moved to Omaha, so I gave him one of those shows. That's why we have a complete episode of show 7. So that's what happened there. And I can't tell you how much. There's 2 things I really wish I could go back and do again. One is I wished I would have never recorded over those shows. And all the Monday Night Madness shows we did. We did a ton of those. Those are the top shows.
Yep.
And the Saturday afternoon specials, which took over the Monday Night Madness shows, were another talk show thing we did. I wish I had all those. And I wished I would have saved all the raw tapes of the armories as far as when we had multiple cameras. All the raw, I wish I would have saved every camera's footage independently. So those are my 2 biggest regrets for how I mismanaged things with those tapes.
But at the time you were 15, 16.
Yeah. The reason I wished I had the raw footage to the armory shows when we had individual cameras filming different angles, because I could redo it. I could make it better.
Right.
Remember, back in those days, it was analog editing, so you had to. It was a process to make a multi-shot out of that. Now you could digitize everything and make a really, really good multi-camera shot if you had all the sources still.
Right.
I just wish him good luck. Well, thank you, Superfly. But
So this is Brian Bunis. This is the younger brother of the Bunis brothers in this match. And of course, Mean Dean Carlson, Andrew's brother.
Yes, I do. And why do you think you do?
And the referee is?
That's what I want to know.
That would be Troy Bunis, Brian's brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
All I saw was you
You can see the competitiveness in Dean, just like his brother.
And having some dollars, but there you hear it from the original Rock and Roll Express.
Not quite the original, but we claimed it.
For some more commentary with Nash.
Rock and Roll Express was Kelsey's idea. That's the name he wanted for a tag team.
Yep.
I could care less what we called ourselves as a tag team, but he wanted it to be the Rock and Roll Express, because he was big fans of the Rock and Roll Express. Kelsey was.
Exactly.
Kelsey's a big NWA guy, like he said.
Well, you heard it. Todd Killer Campa is my partner.
I didn't know I was on camera.
The Scorpions. Just like our favorite rock group, the Scorpions. They're great. And so are we. And there's 30 seconds left in this match, but that's not important. This was what is. I'm back with Mike. It was all a setup to get rid of Crusher, because I knew he would follow me wherever I go, and I said it, and so now he won't follow me again. So now I'm back with Mike, and we're hot.
Madman Nash could do a great promo. I wish we did more interviews with him.
And the match is
That's who was
Yep.
talking there. Yeah.
I tell you, that last match, extraordinaire in its own scene.
Madman Nash,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Derek Nash was his name, was Adam Nash's older brother. Very funny kid. He's that kid, Dave, that could always make you laugh.
Champion by the committee decision is going to defend the belt against Superfly
Yep.
Rich Walker. It should be a great match. That's a join it in progress.
And we're back to the team.
So you got Ace versus Superfly, is that what he said?
Main event of the night.
So
this
another
is the
shoot
NWF
match.
Title bout.
By Rich Walker. And now we have the champ. Should have been the champ all along. My main man and Crusher's main man. The one, the only, the incredible Ace.
So yeah, we're kind of aligned with Ace right now as heels, me and
Yeah,
Matt.
and I got one thing to say. Traitor. You've got the word traitor from, not only by Merciless, but by myself. You do poor repping, you do poor wrestling, you do poor everything. I'll see myself. My lip is fine now. If my lip wasn't healed, I'd have been in this ring last time when he was wrestling Chuck. So don't even consist to pin him, because you won't.
Of course, I'm referring to putting my tooth through my lip that show before this. Remember,
Kelsey himself.
Yep.
that was bad. I had a hole through my lip, Dave. A hole. I could have put a needle and thread through it.
This is Kid Kelsey here at ringside.
Yeah.
Um,
And that was Chuck
All for the
Roberts that
love
did
of
that.
wrestling.
this is.
Maybe Chuck decided to give the belt back because he really felt bad for jumping on me. Like, he jumped on my back when I was in the Boston Crab, and I had no way to protect myself from going face first in the mat.
There's something around here.
There's that bell going off that I told you about.
Yep.
Kelsey's covering it up. So you hear this, like, it sounds like a woodpecker.
The woodpecker stopped for some reason. And now
Steve disassembled that thing and got that out of that contraption, so then we just had the bell by itself and it worked pretty good.
I can't see it, so it does not count for diddly.
Hey, Crusher, get out of here.
Now, Ace has a bear hug. And just drops him like a.
You hear pretty boy, Crusher, get out of there.
Beefcake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve was one of the more vocals when he was in that crowd.
Jump on his legs. Jump on him. 9. And this
Trying to get him in a Boston Crab, I think.
some sort of head submission.
Yeah, that's the way it looks.
Now he's going for his camel clutch, but having a hard time with Rich.
Headlock or something.
Yep, definitely can tell that this is a shoot, not cooperating at all.
Nope.
There's 2.5 minutes left.
And of course, Rich wants the belt.
And now Ace has
So
Yep.
anytime you're in a title match, you want the belt. I mean, who doesn't, right?
Superfly or Ace.
Poor officiating.
They're
I see a lot of outside interference going on.
What's he gonna do?
Yeah, the Super Ds, remember, they're only 9 years old here, so they're not
Yep.
always up on the rules. I know when Kelsey and I had our title match shoot, and it went wild, it was one of the
Yep.
Dazowski's reffing, and
Qualify Rich.
I remember Kelsey get the ropes, and if they didn't tell me to break it, I didn't break it. So I had my legs or whatever on, and Kelsey's in the ropes, and I remember Kelsey looking up at Todd or Troy, he's like, "It's a 5 count, dummy!" He was so mad. And he had every right to be, because it was a 5 count.
Yep.
But like I said, the ref didn't tell me to break it. I didn't break it. You gotta remember, in these shoot matches, you're trying to win. So you listen to the ref. If the ref doesn't tell you to break it, you don't break it. It just goes to show you what would happen in wrestling if they did this shoot stuff for real. How these matches would end up going, my gosh.
Let's talk about the new rule is you bring a chair in the ring, it's automatic disqualification because Merciless Mike had a concussion by being hit by Brian Peterson.
He didn't have a concussion, but yeah, he got a big goose egg, and we decided then, with Brian, as rough as he was with those chairs, we said no more chairs. If you bring a chair in, you're automatic disqualification. And that was just a way to keep the guys from grabbing chairs.
Yep.
Yeah.
15 seconds left in this match.
Lots of outside interference on this show, Dave, I gotta say.
9,
Yep.
8, 7, 6,
And you notice Ace being right by those ropes.
3, 2, 1. That's the end of the match.
This has got to be a record for the most draws.
Yeah, I would have to agree, Crusher.
We had-
I would have to agree.
We had one pin fall I seen in that Super D's match.
This closed circuit, you're seeing this in Minnesota and all over, but this unit right here is in Minnesota. It's also being seen across the nation and other states. But the next match I've been informed,
That part's true,
Rock
but
and
not
Roll
live.
Express is going to take on Killer
I mean,
Cam
we're in
and
22
Mad Dog
states,
Nancy
so
are the
at this
tag team
point.
champions. This is the second main event of the evening with referee Ace. And by the way, in that last match, it was the time limit ran out. There was
During title
Let's keep
matches,
the belts
Gizmo, to answer your
this
question,
tag team championship match
in title matches,
to LA.
it was a shoot.
Okay.
Meaning
In
it wasn't
non-title matches-
predetermined.
Right.
So like this
But
match
in regular
right here,
boats, it was predetermined.
this is a title match, so this is not predetermined. It's whoever can win is going to win the belt. That was my crazy
Yep.
way of thinking back then to keep it fair. So
See
all of
that we're
19,
watching them.
yeah. But that's the 86 circuit.
Yep.
In 85, the tag belts looked a little different. So these matches, yeah, they were, and just because they're shoots doesn't mean they're shoots from the belt start of the bell. A lot of times you still work together. Like right now, Matt Nash and I aren't trying to win at this point. But as this match gets towards the end, things change, and you'll see it. You can tell. You can almost tell watching the matches when this happens. You know, when these matches start getting intense.
I was about to pin him. Bell rings. I could take both of them on again and beat them. Yeah.
So you see Merciless Mike in the corner of Nash and Ciampa. I see Superfly Rich over there as well.
You can hear Kelsey using some not called for language.
Yeah, I remember Matt and I were we wanted those belts. I remember so bad. And I figured, we can beat them. I really believed we could beat them.
Right.
So I was ready for it. So it's the way it kind of went. So you were kind of working, right, Dave? You're working, you're cooperating, but then you see an opportunity to get a pin, and you go for it. You know, you try to get your guy off guard.
Something happening to him.
Yeah, I remember that.
Ciampa coming up. Crusher.
Todd and I had a huge history.
Getting in trouble.
The one I wanted, I felt I could beat. Like Ciampa's so squirrely. I figured I could pin Nash out of these two. Ciampa's just very wiry, and I figured he would be a lot harder to pin than Derek.
Yep.
Maybe so. Here's some words from.
Because gosh, Camp and I, we used to roughhouse wrestling all the time off the show in the neighborhood, even before the show.
Everybody is attacking the poor referee. What'd the referee do to you?
Yeah. It's like right there's a chance, and so there's like a you're going for the pin. Let's see.
And the referee is distracted.
Todd was, he grabbed the ropes as he should to get out of this.
He has the ropes, so I have to break the hold. 20 seconds left in this match. And the Ciampa has ropes, but they don't. There's a pin.
Kelsey's trying to pin him now, so that you can see the match has kind of shifted.
Yep.
There is a discrepancy on the time clock, though. They do add more time to this match. Adam's mad. See, Adam's mad because he didn't get extension on his, and we're getting an extension, and he's mad. So that's what he's talking about in the background there. There, Adam, Dynamite Dude commentating.
Yep.
Yeah. It wasn't a big extension. I think it was a minute or two, but.
Here's some words from Mr. X.
Yeah, this is Mr. X here.
So I'm trying to pin Derek, and he's got those damn parachute pants on, and he becomes very slippery with those parachute pants.
Yep.
If I can't, I'll even go further than that, because I want this Tuba Tubby or whatever his name is, or Puffer, or I don't care what his name is. I want him.
Words from Mr. X. 1 minute. What? 1 minute remaining.
Heartbreak for you. Just rolled right along with it.
Yeah. Matt is pissed. And Mike was just constantly fiddling with Ace and distracting him on the ringside, which I found out later when I watched it. I didn't see it right away when I was in there, but
Yep.
distracting Ace.
There'll be some more on that next week. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's
I can remember being mad after that one. So the champions ratings. The Super D's in there, last place. The Super D's started turning on in '86. Well, the end of '85.
Yep.
I know it. Kelsey knows it.
But
Merciless knows it. But Merciless has to play cheap and get that belt.
Starting Superfly!
Now why? I want the belts. I want the belts. Hand me the belts. Me and Kelsey deserve them. And one for you. One for you.
I was mad. Couldn't even get the words to come out almost. When you get so mad, you just don't know how to, can't get the words.
For the lightweight battle royal, which I've been offered the introduction, you know, I am so
Lightweight,
grateful.
yeah, so what we did a lightweight battle royal, Dave, and then we do a heavyweight battle royal, because we figured the ring was too small to get us all in there at once.
Rough Ryan,
Yep.
Super D1. What's Bad Street Brian, Mean Dean, and Super D2. Have a 7-man.
They're all flexing.
Let's start.
And Crusher's still got a headache from getting his head hit earlier.
Yep.
Ring the bell! It's like Bad Street Bunis is coming.
So, even these battle royals weren't predetermined here. So whoever can get out, you know, it's kind of a king of the hill in the ring, basically.
Yep.
It wasn't an over-the-top battle royal, so that's why you get out, you're out.
You can't go back in, Beefcake.
My thinking was it was more for the safety, but later on we did start doing over-the-top battle royals a few shows later.
Yep.
And there's no way you can announce this match.
You know, Kelsey, think about this NWF, you know, it's the most exciting kids wrestling there is in the country. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Don't sound too excited about it.
Well, I shouldn't. I had it shot except for Superfly Rich ruined it by hitting Ace, man. That's stupid.
Yeah, we're still bummed out. We thought we were gonna get those tag titles,
I
Dave.
can't say I didn't see it.
Yep.
What I've been hearing.
So,
With
who was the king of the battle royal?
me and everything.
Well, when Charlie was around, Lane,
Yep.
definitely him.
Roberts here. He was sitting here.
Um,
Leg off.
But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's just.
On everything. Well, now it's a.
I know Thandar won a few of them.
Oh, okay.
I think when he made his debut, he won that battle royal. You know, in here in the garage on that particular show.
The kamikaze blimp.
A lot of people don't realize Thandar made his debut in '85 in the garage.
Out. Oh my God, that's real. Super D2 is also on.
You know, he was
Beauties, get out.
much more prominent in '86 with Conan, but as the Barbarians.
Right.
Now we have.
Never really got over as Tom Tyler.
Nah, it really didn't. You know, but Thandar in the beginning was very timid, very mild
Mean Dean. It's kind of hard to.
when he first came on.
And he's trying to get.
Sorry for laughing, but I've known Thandar away from the ring long before my time in the NWF.
Yeah.
Right now.
And him being mild and timid.
Yeah, he was though. When we watch that show, you'll see it. It's very, very mild-mannered.
As Mean Dean. It's 'cause you didn't- I don't care.
So Bad Boy Brian. Looks like we're down to the Dynamite Dude, Rough Ryan, and this Bad Boy Brian Bunis. So now these guys are a tag team. This is, I think, what broke up their tag team when Adam threw them out of the Battle Royal. Then they go against each other.
Yep.
Against Ace
following show. It was a great feud too. Rough Ryan against the Dynamite Dude. That was a really good lightweight feud that went on for couple matches.
And another thing, I am glad to be back on Mike's team and Chuck.
I really wished Adam would have stuck with us. You know, he was a great lightweight wrestler for us. He was our oldest lightweight wrestler. Adam came on the show back in the basement days. I don't have any footage of it, but that's when he made his first appearance.
Right.
Yep. He was around for a long time.
It almost looks like he's trying to protect him from going out.
Well, yeah, but I think he is, and he's trying to get him out. Dynamite Dude was a competitor. He just wanted to win.
But what I'm saying is the way he was grabbing, the way that he was grabbing the ropes behind him, it almost looked like he was trying to protect him from going out.
You know, speaking of these shoot matches, Dave, so Dynamite Dude and Rough Ryan, I said they had a lot of matches. Well, that last match with them two was a title match. Dynamite Dude's the champion. And Dynamite Dude, just trying to win the match, got Rough Ryan in a camel clutch and didn't realize how much he was pulling on his neck, and Ryan couldn't breathe. And so finally, when Ryan couldn't, there was no tapping back then. That was a UFC thing. So he didn't tap.
Right.
But you had to say you give up, and the ref kept asking, but Ryan couldn't talk because he couldn't breathe from this camel clutch. And finally, when it somehow got the message, Ryan was so scared from not being able to breathe, he was in tears. And Adam, it just devastated him. He didn't realize, he didn't mean to, he didn't realize it, and at that point he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to just step away. Yep. Can't blame him. Something like that happens.
Well, that's just it. I mean,
This is the winner of the little battle royale, the best.
you know, that's the thing.
Commentary.
You know, us talking about wrestling being a brotherhood.
Yeah.
If you hurt somebody, you feel guilty about it.
And
It haunts you. I mean,
big battle royale isn't going to be easy to announce.
I know what he's feeling because I kind of felt it with Kelsey. Because Kelsey got physically hurt as well as emotionally on that match we had. And I know what Adam was feeling. Because I felt it too a little bit.
Very spectacular.
And that's where the light bulb went off with me. Like, we cannot do this as shoots. What are we doing?
So, what do you think about this?
We've got to get away from this.
Mr. X to me is a
well,
big,
it's like
you know, he's
me in October with the Invaders. You know, I felt bad about
he's like a big ape.
hurting the
Oh, with
Invader.
Kerry? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that was not because it was a shoot. That was an accident.
Kind of a clown.
Yeah.
He uses his strength
The accidents happen.
whatsoever. And nobody has yet got his mask off. Get that.
I guess that's another injury we kind of forgot to mention.
But of course, you
And somebody asked that last week.
Yep.
Was that botched slam?
Yep.
As you might want to call yourself.
I mean, it fractured his rib, I think.
Dynamite Dude for some commentary too.
But it wasn't
For the lightweight.
serious, but it was a minor injury.
Where's the Dynamite Dude? Just a second. Dynamite Dude, I'm gonna ask you.
Is that Kelsey going after his
Who's
mask?
your favorite wrestler?
You're grabbing whatever you can to try to get Mr. X out. Mr. X, we all knew in this battle royal that we have to get him out. He's the biggest one in here. And if we're going to have a chance to win, we ain't going to win with him in there. So at some point, we all go gang up on Mr. X here.
Madman Nash, Killer Campa, or Merciless Mike? Okay,
You know, I guess my thinking too is I don't like our look here, all wearing jeans, even my camouflage pants. I wish they would have paid more attention to what we were wearing back then.
Yep.
Kelsey grabbing that Mr. X mask. He's trying to keep it on.
Yes, say like Crusher Crossen, you're the cheese, and he's the mouse. He follows the cheese wherever it goes. Very right.
So now is where we're kind of all like, let's get him out. We got to get him out.
Keep it on.
You can hear me saying, get him out, get him out.
Keep that mask on.
Now Steve goes crazy. You're going, rah! Finally, I yanked him out with that mask.
Since
Oh, he had to get him out of there.
Hopefully none of these women will want to take advantage of him when he's in the stage.
So now that he's out, it's kind of trying to be back to
Now it's
normal.
every man for themselves.
Yeah.
Getting the heck beat out of him. I wouldn't want to throw a punch into that thing. And there he goes in the ropes.
You know, really, Mr. X is kind of like our Andre the Giant for us. He was so big to us.
I think he's just
Exactly.
Oh, you heard that. You heard that. What a power slam. You know who I think is going to win this battle royal? I think
Me and Kelsey going at it even.
Kelsey, because no one can lift him out of the ring. But
Madman would always get on Kelsey's case and vice versa whenever they were commentating.
no, but I think
Yep. Mr. X creeping around the ring again.
Yep. So this is the kind of thing I covered up on all those other little segment things.
Ah.
But yeah, we end up, due to airtime, we'll be unable to show you the result of that battle royal more in the winter next week. And Dave, I don't remember who won the damn thing. I don't remember, but I don't think it was me. I don't remember.
We'll eventually find out when we watch episode 40.
If we mention it, yeah. Sometimes we'll say more on this next week, and then we just forget to bring it up again. But yeah, maybe we'll talk about it. I think we did watch that show though already, and I don't remember talking about the battle royal. Pat Hobbit, Mike Hobbit. Those are the other guys that were my crew in Group W, along with Chad Jones. Yep.
You know, another fun show. You know, another fun show this week. I hope everybody watching enjoyed it.
Yep. Yeah, those garage shows. And this one was intense, though, Dave. This was a lot of intense matches there. A lot of just physical ones. Not so much of glitz and glamour of professional wrestling style moves. But it's part of the process of evolution that we took in the league, which is good to watch this stuff, to see the transformation. In a way, Dave, these garage matches really toughened you up. That was a plus, because it just made
it challenged you quicker to the business.
Yep. So then when we did start to convert to more, like in '86, we started doing more work. We just started working more as properly.
Right.
And but you had that toughness part of you already kind of, for those of us who were part of that, it kind of we took with us.
Exactly.
It's like what. So when I went against Standard, when we watched that show a while back, he was stronger than me. He was bigger than me, but I was just as tough. So that's why the match. That's why the match went the way it was.
It's like a lot of people have talked about. There's a difference in being in wrestling shape and being in ring shape.
Yeah. Yeah, I think back to when Steve and I, Mr. X, when we did that Broadway in July at the Armory, the time limit. We went 60 minutes. It wasn't really 60 minutes like most Broadways aren't. They always fudge it a little bit, but I think we went a good 50 minutes though. And you have a match that goes that long and you give them everything you got, and you're wiped out. And that's me at 16 years old at the prime of my youth. And I'm exhausted. I mean, I remember afterwards.
I was going to say, I can imagine you in the locker room just sitting back there. Oh.
Well, the first thing, I'm thirsty as hell. Now, what I should be drinking is water, but I don't have water. So the concession booth's out there, and I figured I just went and got I asked for 3 Cokes, and I chugged every one of them.
Oh no!
3 of them. That was how thirsty I was after that one. That was when we do the July card, we'll see that match, and that just was a hell of a. Out of all my matches at the Oak Armory, that one with Steve was the best with Mr. X, as far as a match. worst attendance we had at the Armory, but a great match. But yeah, that
The attendance tracker wasn't our fault, though.
no, we were a lot of reasons why that show went the way it did as far as attendance, but you know, back to the
being Tronson.
Well, Tronson, yep, the suspension. Me thinking we don't need to advertise, so not doing any posters or advanced ticket sales. These were all bad decisions, and learned very quickly from that. And that's why when we did the October card, it was a challenge for me. I'm like, this isn't going to happen again, and I want this place packed, and that was my mindset. So,
exactly.
And that's why the October card was, went as successfully as it did. But the garage, though, the garage days are very, and like I was telling Andrew, just a very unique time, because it was really bridging Group W to Fred Moore, where the wrestling just evolved, and Group W days, we weren't taking any massive bumps, and we started doing that in the garage towards the end.
Right.
And then in Fred Moore, we were doing it all the time. So
yeah, if you could take a bump in Fred Moore, you were good to go.
Yeah, Fred Moore was nice because the ring was fairly big. It was hard, but it was space. You had the space in that ring.
Yep, you had the ability to work.
Yep. And I remember watching Steve doing those big, huge Superfly death leaps and stuff he'd do, landing on that hard ring. You felt it, especially at his age.
Oh, yeah.
The people always are kind of baffled when we say, well, we never had any serious injuries. But you got to remember, when you're a kid, Dave, your body is resilient. You have a little more flexibility to yourself. So what might be an injury if you're an adult, kids kind of bend a little bit better at that age. You just do. And it's part of it,
Exactly. I fully agree. I mean,
yeah.
We were able to handle what we did.
Yeah. Gizmo says that was a great episode. I imagine with Gizmo being a fan of the kind of the hard edge of it, he would have liked that episode because that was intense stuff. That wasn't scripted and planned so much. It's interesting though. It's like these shoot title matches and stuff, and listening to Andrew a few weeks ago, how he only knows this, for the most part,
right?
Because he was the champion for most of his time, and he, his matches were always like this. So, for him, it's hard for him, not being in the league when we started doing it properly, to understand how that would be. So, but if you think about it, you think about the guys who go through training camps, and what do they say? Oh, Stu Hart, he just worked me, and Vern just works. They just worked us, right? Well, these matches were work, where you were getting worked a lot of times. So it's, in a way, it's the training.
Yep, those matches were the training.
It's kind of the training. Like that's how I always say, it was a development period to get us ready to start doing it the right way, And I'm kind of glad we did the shoots. I don't regret it. I think we needed it to evolve. We needed to toughen everybody up. We needed to get them more physical and less. If you think about it, think of the Group W stuff, Dave. It's very light. It's lighthearted.
Right.
And then you look at what Fred Moore became after doing the garage stuff. It's just a very, very good transition. So.
Fred Moore was more gritty and more wrestling based.
Yeah. And basement footage that he was talking about. You know what was good about that stuff, Dave, was the wrestling wasn't nothing like textbook professional wrestling in those days. But going off the dressers and being able to land those mattresses, you were more willing to do it. You know, as far as doing stuff that would hurt like hell in a real ring.
Yeah.
But the thing that we really did a lot in those days was character development, rivalries, feuds, you know, the interviews and that, building our characters. That was more evident in those days than ever in our league. You know, we did a lot of couldn't buy fake blood in those days in these basement days unless it was Halloween season. Fake blood wasn't available, so I would take.
Yep.
This is what I do to make fake blood. I would take liquid soap and red food coloring, and I'd make my concoction of fake blood, and I put in little plastic packs, and at some point you'd hit somebody, and then you'd just get all this blood, and that's how we did it back then. I'll tell you a funny story. Before I started the show, this is like, I guess you could say pre-NWF stuff. In the neighborhood, we decided to charge admission to all the kids to watch a professional wrestling exhibition, just like we would do in the show on the mattresses, right? But only it was in somebody else's basement somewhere in our neighborhood. We charged admission, and the plan was, I'll take a McDonald's ketchup packet. I'm going to hit you in this match, and it'll be instant blood. Sounded great, right? It'll just pop. Guess what happened? We had people paid money to see us, other kids sitting watching us. We must have had a dozen kids in the neighborhood, and they all paid like 50 cents or whatever we charged. And I took a ketchup packet and I think it was Ted Walter, and I hit him. What happened is it splattered. It didn't just make blood. It splattered and hit everybody watching. They all got ketchup on them. So then they're like, what the heck's this? And they're like, fake, fake. They're shouting fake. It was not a good start. And I guess you can say that was maybe one of the first NWF attempts without cameras. But yeah, that was my brain thinking. It just didn't practice it. We just tried it. You know, I figured it would work. God, I can't believe I remembered that. But yeah, that was probably
John,
like.
What's the rule when you're wrestling? Never do anything you haven't practiced live.
Well, this was probably the summer before we started the show when we did that.
Yep.
So that's how I started getting the ideas to do the NWF. Plus, when we'd get off the bus, we'd start having wrestling matches in the backyard, and we'd rope it off on the ground and where our ring area was. And those were the beginning days. I think I posted one time on our channel a arm wrestling thing with me and Ted Walter where we reenact the Hulk Hogan arm wrestling challenge with Ken Patera. Because we just watched it on the AWA, and it was and we didn't have the video cameras, but we had a Super 8 camera, so it was a silent movie. And we filmed this and reenacted this whole thing. And then I had a cassette tape player and record all the audio, and I tried to line it up, but it never lined up right because Super 8 goes faster. Yep. So it didn't work right. So and I eventually lost the audio to it, but yeah, that was like so this wrestling show that we started eventually was brewing in my mind well before the show started, with different things that we kind of attempted over the years. So I don't know. I mean, I know the fans, they kind of like watching all of it, but I'm just thinking, I'm not sure what we'll watch next week. I'm thinking, we could do a group
Yoho
show. Yoho?
Yep.
Yeah, an outdoor. Oh, that's right, because yeah, we already talked about it. I think we're going to look at no, we're going to do Dayton, aren't we? No, we're going to do the Yoho, yeah, we're going to do one of the outdoor tapings at Yoho, not one of the earlier ones, with guys like Rock and Ronabomb, the Ice Dragon, Dixie Dave.
Yours truly.
Mr. X was on
Nice
that
Guys.
show. Mr. Nice Guys made their debut. Mr. Macho, Mr. Destroyer. The Rock and Roll Express made their debut there too. And it wasn't your debut because you had made your debut in Fred Moore a
Yep.
few shows before that. But yeah, that's a fun show. That's in our we're using our ring that we had used at the Anoka Armory, the first Anoka Armory, the built ring we made. It
Yep.
wasn't our real ring, but it was the one we had right before that. In fact, this is going to be the last taping of that use of that ring. Because the next tapings after that, after Fred Moore, would have been the new ring, the real professional ring that we got. So, but yeah. But yeah, I don't know if anybody has any other questions. If you want, just go ahead and ask away. But otherwise,
Otherwise,
we're
going to call it a week. And
yeah. And again, remember too, if there's certain shows that you really would like to see or watch, you can always request them. That's how we did that show a few weeks ago. That show 7, somebody requested it.
Exactly.
I want to say Gabriel Henrik, if I remember correctly. So
I believe you are correct.
Yeah, he just requested it, so we just put it in our list and got to that one. I know there's certain shows that people like. I know one of the most popular shows on our YouTube channel, as far as previews of the shows, I think the most popular one is show number 37 with the Dynamite Dude and the Super D's.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That I think has the most views. So we haven't done that one yet, Dave. I don't think we've done any of those yet. That's got that's also the time period when Merciless Mike and Ace had their match. So that was pretty wild
Sounds
stuff.
like something fun to come up with.
Yeah. But yeah, so fun show. And like I said, we do have some guests on the horizon here. We're just kind of waiting for things to work out with schedules and stuff with these guys. Yep. So hopefully we'll have some guests coming up again, and I know
and
that
maybe bring some old alumni back.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to. One thing I'd like to do, Dave, I think I talked about it, was if we can get our friend Ace to come back on and Kelsey, get both of them. I think it'd be fun to have them on when then we can watch when Ace ended up losing that belt to Kelsey. And the very intense rematch they had the following show. And that was Ace's last appearance in the NWF. So that was a good one. And then I think it'd also be cool to have, if we ever could get Merciless Mike, man, wouldn't it be great to get him and Ace together to watch that title match? Yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, Dave,
you might complain about.
You weren't there, but when that match was happening, the reason I'm out on the ringside, and I'm having a hard time not laughing at that match. Mike was so furious in that ring, but when you're not involved and you see Michaelis losing it, it's funny. You're laughing because it's not working for him, and he's just frustrated, and it's like. But Mike was so mad, and the reason I'm laughing is because he had told me personally, he goes, I'm winning the belt, I'm going to get it. He's so convinced he was going to beat Andrew, and when it didn't happen, man, and he knew it wasn't going to happen when it was starting to get to the end of that match. Oh, he was livid. Oh man, he was mad. And of course, you're funny. Now, here's the thing. I then. Kelsey and I in this show today, I felt what Mike felt.
Right.
I seen I could not, and then I felt it. So it's not funny when it's you, but it's sure as hell funny when it's not you, and you can just watch on the outside.
Well, it's like watching blooper videos.
Yeah.
It's funny when it's not happening to you, but when it happens to you, it sucks.
Yeah, it's just, it really brought out the competitive edge of everybody in those title matches, especially when you got to towards the end of the match. and because you want to win. I know that when I went into the match with Kelsey, you know, and it was a shoot and he was a champion, I wanted that belt. And when I did that, I remember it, Dave, to this day, when I went to do a drop kick to Matt and he moved and my drop kick missed. And then I look up and he's doing that Kelsey strut because everybody kind of laughed because I missed the drop kick, right? And he did that Kelsey strut, man, that just sets a chord in you. It's like, all right, this is it. I'm not playing anymore.
It's go time now.
Yep. And that's exactly what happens in that match. And, well, you can see when that match shifted. And well, the rest is history. I mean, I know it's the kind of things that, you know, Matt and I will never forget that match. Mike and Andrew will never forget that match that they had. Yeah, there's some matches you just don't forget out of all the matches we've had. You know.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny, the armory card, like I think everybody asked me, what were you thinking in the ring when you're in the armory? It's hard to remember it. You know, actually remember it. I watched it on video and I can see it, but it's hard for me to remember the exact moment of being in that ring because it was so, you know, you were so excited for it. And
there's so many overwhelming things going on at the moment.
Right. And it's like, you know, it's hard to remember the details. What I do remember, like on that first match with Steve at that strap match, I remember the lights. I remember being under the lights and being really illuminated, which it doesn't show on the video so much. But you really, in person, I could feel that light, you know, and then the darkness around.
Yep.
I wish we had better cameras, you know, to pick that up. But
like I remember when Rattlesnake Jake and I won the national tag titles. We didn't have actual physical belts there.
Yeah.
So I remember, you know, after the match, I'm gesturing, "Where's my belt? Where's my belt?"
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same thing in the PWA when I beat Troy supposedly beat him for the PWA belt. I'm like, I'm doing that same thing. Where's the belt? But yeah, and that's the other thing with the PWA. I mentioned this last week. You know, when Troy and when Eddie asked us to come to the PWA and work with them at George's and Fridley, I was all for it. I mean, that was cool. I didn't mind the wrestling because I still like the wrestling. But man, the atmosphere in the PWA in the locker room was just not the same as it was in our NWF stuff ever. Wasn't even close, really. Because, and it's not a knock. It's just all the guys in the independent circuit are all out to try to. They think in their minds, every one of them, that they're going to make it big and they're going to be in the WWF. And you got to think that way. Nothing wrong with that. But the problem is they didn't care about anybody else. They just cared about themselves and their own gimmick and getting themselves over. They don't really care about the match. They just want to get themselves over. You remember that famous term, spot monkeys? You become a spot monkey.
Yep.
And that's kind of what everybody was doing. And, you know, for me, coming from the NWF and we were finally working things really good, it was a chemistry. You know, your idea is you're gonna have a match, but it's gonna tell a story, and you're gonna put each other over, not just yourself. You're putting your opponent over. He's putting you over. It becomes a great match. Think of the Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat matches, that kind of thing, where you're both working hard, and this wasn't happening in the PWA like it should have been.
Right.
And to me, that took some of the luster out of it. You know, it's like now Troy and I, when we had a match, we worked like we did in the NWF. But I know Troy had a lot of frustrations when he worked with the other guys.
Right.
And I could see it too. So that's the big difference, you know. If I could go back and do, here's the thing, Dave, before I'm going to let you talk, but if I could go back and do the NWF again, or go back and take over where I left off in the PWA and move forward from there, you know what I'm doing?
You're going back to the NWF.
I'm going back to NWF. It was, yeah, the PWA was probably more professional and it was really the stepping stone. But the NWF for me was just a lot more fun.
Well, and if I may, I'm going to put you over on something here. In the NWF, it didn't matter who you were in the NWF. If you had an idea, you being the owner of the NWF would listen to the idea. I mean, for instance, there's no way to prove it. You know, we didn't have recorders that would record it at the time, but I remember our conversations about Star Cage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you and I on the phone, we should have a night where all matches are held inside of a cage.
Yeah.
What do we call it? And, we're throwing out ideas, and I can't remember if it was you or I mentioned Star Cage.
Yep, Star Cage. And I got the promos still for that we cut. That's one of those things where you start biting off more than you can chew, and not knowing how expensive fencing panel was and everything, I realized we just didn't have enough money to build a cage. That was the only thing that kept us from doing that.
Yep.
And I didn't want to build some rinky-dink. I looked at what they did in that cage match at the dry dock, at the NWF after I left. And that was, yeah, you can call it a cage, but it wasn't a cage. If I'm going to do a cage, I want it a cage, right?
Yep.
Not some half-luster attempt. And that's kind of what that looked like when they did that thing in the dry dock, when I left. But so that's why I'm thinking I'm pricing out for that, for a proper looking cage.
Right.
And yeah, so.
Yeah, I've been to some indie shows, and I remember going to one where it was basically chicken wire stapled to wood.
Yeah, a cheap, like the low man's lobster, right? The cheap imitation. You call it a cage, but is it a cage? They're lucky they didn't go through that chicken wire.
There's no way anybody could have climbed that cage.
Right.
You would have literally have had to climb up to the top rope, brace yourself on the top of the cage, flip yourself over the top of the cage, and drop down.
Well, and yeah, but now you're talking WWF. So in our cage matches, it would have been AWA style rules. It wouldn't be this you climb out of the cage to win thing. So the way you were going to win it was going to be a brawl to the finish. So
yep.
I know we were talking about how we're going to, we were obviously not juicing in those days. So we're thinking we're going to have blood, but it was going to be fake blood. There's no way we were going to do cage matches without blood. So.
Well, yeah, you and I hadn't made it that far with talking about it. You might have talked to some of the other guys about it.
I remember having conversations, yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, I'm really not looking forward to blading.
No, we weren't going to juice. None of us. The only time we started doing this juicing was in the dry dock. Jamie did it, I did it, Steve did it. That's the only, and it was that new thing that you finally feel old enough. Like I was 18, I felt I could do it.
Yep.
Jamie though, man, he was only 14 or 15, but he did it too. He probably shouldn't have.
He was probably 15, 16.
I think he said 14. But you're right, he could have been 15.
Maybe
15.
Maybe he was a year younger than. Maybe he was a little younger than I was.
So let's for argument's sake say he was 15, even 15, kind of young. But yeah, that's when we were not. There was no way in hell we were going to juice in 86 or 87. That I wouldn't have even thought of that. I just not with the. We had too many young kids, but fake blood was something we always played with in our league. We had fake blood from the very beginning. We've used it in the garage a lot. We never really used it in Group W because we couldn't get that stage damaged.
Yep.
We didn't really use it in Fred Moore either. Again, because it's not our stuff. We don't want to get kicked out. You know, that's our big thing in Fred Moore is we don't want to wreck anything because if we do, they're going to make a fuss and we're going to be told we can't use this anymore.
Right.
Which is why when Steve Engstrom, I'll never forget, and Fred Moore, you know, they had all this boxing training stuff that you couldn't see off camera. And one of those things is one of those balls that are attached to the ceiling and the floor, and you just, you know, do this.
The speed bag.
Yeah, and Steve's like playing around, goes around, he hits it really hard, and then it breaks. I'm like, Steve, you're gonna get us kicked out of here. I'm just fix that thing. You know, I was pissed because I'm thinking that's the thing with Steve. Great, look, and if Steve's listening, I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world. But the thing is, I felt like the adult with me and Steve. Like I was always the one getting on his case. The only time he got on my case, and rightfully so, is when I would take that world title belt and try to whip people with it. And you'll hear Steve, not with the belt, Sean, because he'd have to fix it all the time. So I don't, you know.
Now, the world title we have now, you could probably give somebody a good whack with that thing and hold up.
Right. But the NWF belt, people don't realize when I whip people with it, parts would go flying off that belt when I would do that, when I'd hit them. I remember in the Champlain Legion, I did it on Sharky in that dual card, and I remember you can see the parts flying on the video when I started whipping Steve with it. But yeah, so.
Yeah, that was a fun show. I was there in the crowd for that one.
Good crowd there. That was a good mixed crowd of both PWA and NWF fans, because we pushed that show on our weekly taping.
And that was my first exposure to PWA.
Yep. Yeah, because like I said, we promoted it, and we had a lot of our NWF fans. And I remember, just to show you the kind of draw we had back then, Dave, on that show. So Eddie did a Champion Legion card the month before without us. He did 2 of them there. The month before, he did one with just his guys. And Steve and I were there, and there was half the crowd of what we had from when we did it the following month. So it wasn't like a big standing room only like it was. You remember, you were there.
Yep.
When we did it together, it was just a very mediocre. It was like half filled almost. And then when we did our dual event with him, and I started plugging it on our weekly show, we packed that place. There was only standing room only left. You couldn't. The tables were full.
Yep.
And this is what Eddie wanted to do an event with us, because he knew we were kind of. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, Dave, but in '86 we had a following, you know. We
were on fire that year.
Yeah, we really did, and you know, it was just after October 18th sellout card, so we had a good fan base going right there at that time.
You know, and you said I'm gonna do a loophole here. You said you didn't want to toot your own horn.
Yeah, I don't like bragging.
Toot. You know, toot.
I would rather give other people credit. That's why I'm always trying to, when we have guests and stuff, Dave, and they always, you notice the guests we have, they always like point out how remarkable it was for me to do what I did. But exactly. I'm not the kind of guy to say, to gloat. I want to remind all these guests and everybody else how important they were, and because they were. You cannot do a show by yourself. You know, you need the guys.
Very true.
Yeah, but
you needed the brotherhood around.
Yep, and you need the camaraderie, and that's what was missing in the PWA. You know, there wasn't that camaraderie that we had with like us, and so you know that's why I always tried to keep the NWF fun, because if it wasn't fun, what are we doing? Fun.
Yeah, I mean, I remember
was important.
I remember times where a big group of us would get together and we'd go take over Burger King.
Yeah.
Right on Main Street.
We go to Target because that's where all you guys lived. I know big groups of us. Terry Black. A funny story with Terry Black is he was so shy and just jittery on camera, but when he was off camera, he was not like that. And I was telling him, I said, hey, let's take a walk up the target. We're going to be doing the next Superstar Spectacular event next year, and I want to find the soundtrack to Jesus Christ Superstar. I want that theme. That not so much the story, but the kind of the melody. Maybe we can find the soundtrack. And like, okay, let's go. And we're all kind of talking, and that's where you told me about the British Bulldog figures you got. I just remember this day for some reason. Anyways, we're going up there, and of course we make our rounds through the toy section to see the figures. Which I wish I would have bought those Remco figures then. Man, worth so much money now. But anyways, we get to the album section, and then I have everybody looking, so we're all looking through the different things for the albums. And then Terry Black, Jesus Christ Superstar. I'm like, where? Just kidding. Oh man, he did that like 2 or 3 times to me. They just couldn't find the damn thing, at that time. But
and if I remember correctly, didn't it kind of become a game for the rest of us guys?
I keep calling what do you call it when you cry sheep or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was everybody knew I was looking for it, and their eyes. That's the kind of ribbing we do, back then. But yeah, Terry Black, what a character, And gosh, just thinking of that time, Dave, reminds me of all the work I did with Terry Kosnapel in that courtyard. Just because Terry wanted to come on the show, we couldn't set the ring up anywhere at the time. And we're going to do that October card, and I had to get him up to speed, so we just trained on the grass, hard-ass grass, in that courtyard, doing suplexes and all sorts of shit. But like I said, as a kid, you can absorb it, but lots of work with Terry Kosnapel, I remember. That's around that time. He's going to be one of our guests soon, and I'm really looking forward to Terry coming on. He's got a better memory than me, Dave.
Oh boy.
I know, he remembers things that I don't even remember.
Well, and that's the thing. Different people remember different things.
Well, here's a question. Who was your best friend from the NWF? Well, I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say Charlie Lane wasn't my best friend, because he was. And he was the beginning, and it was him and I that came up with this whole thing to do it. But he's definitely there. He's got to be there. Is that? But there's a few. In those days, Matt Kelsey, Jason Klassen, Mike Ackerman, even Todd Campa. We're pretty close friends for that time.
And for a while, you and Steve.
And Steve, I shouldn't have left him out. But Dave, you know me. I become a social butterfly with everybody.
Well, that's why if we do that.
Yeah.
If we do what we're talking about next year in August, I'm almost kind of worried. I'm just going to kind of be left off to the side there.
Nah, I mean, it doesn't. The hardcore details of the history aren't as important for events like that versus the fact that you were involved.
Yeah.
So anybody that was involved with the NWF, but look at Terry Kosnapel. He's got just as fond of memories over this, and he was only on 2 Armory shows.
Yep.
And his memories are just as much and solid, as you and me. And even though he wasn't on all those tapings, So.
Oh yeah. To respond to this, definitely. I mean, in '86, we were a tight-knit group.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but if we would have been walking down Main Street in Anoka, you know, as a group, and somebody messed with one of us, they'd have the whole crew coming
They
after
would.
them.
They would, but that
You
didn't
know?
happen. That really, nobody would mess with you like that back then. But you're right, they would have your back. But you know, I was going to say, what do you miss the most? Well, with this comment here, there's two things I really miss from the NWF. I miss the cheers, right? The crowd when you're a baby
Yep.
face and they're cheering
The
for you.
pop.
That crowd, you miss it. And any athlete will tell you that. When you get away from it, you know, a professional athlete that's involved with fans, and you get away from hearing the cheers, you miss that. But the other thing I miss just as much, the two things, is the guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I
Really.
mean, you don't even have to be a professional athlete. I mean, you
Well,
know,
I'm
Gizmo,
talking about the cheers part.
right.
You know, the
Well,
crowd.
I was going to say, you know, we don't know who Gizmo is, but you know, say that they play basketball in high school. You know,
Right.
think you make a good shot while you're playing basketball, and the crowd pops for that shot.
Right. You're right. You don't have to be a professional.
It's the same thing for us when we were in the ring. I mean, it's a drug, plain and simple. Those cheers are a drug.
Right.
And that's why we've had so many wrestlers who, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of wrestlers out there who were on the hardcore drugs.
You're talking about real wrestling, like professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, guys from the NWA, WWF, AWA. You know, so many of those guys were on drugs so they could stay on the road, so they could get the cheers.
Yeah.
I mean, you look back at, you know, interviews that Jake Snake Roberts has done.
Yeah.
He's made the comment he didn't know how to act when he went home because he didn't know life without being on the road.
Right. But you know, for us though, Dave, like that the stuff that didn't get recorded on the show that you don't see, the relationships, the conversations I had till 2 a.m. with everybody on a school night, right?
The three-way call.
The three-way calls upon three-way calls, and the conversations, and the demising of the league. Because in these days, it was this NWF was 24/7 for me. It became a higher priority than school, which
Right.
my mom hated. That part she didn't like, but it was the reality of it. And here's something a lot of people don't know. When Jason Clausen knows this. When I was 16 years old, I was so wrapped up with the NWF that I decided I'm quitting school. And Jason asked me, why are you going to do that? And he goes, I said, Jason, I am just so busy with this right now, and this is so, I really feel that I'm taking advantage of this, and I'm going to work with this. I can get back to school. I'll do that when I'm ready. And that's exactly what I did. When I was done with the wrestling, I went back. I did get my GED, and I got 2 college diplomas. I knew when I was 16 that I can delay my graduation. I don't need to graduate at this time. It was just my thinking because I was so all in on the NWF.
Right.
And,
well, you say not everybody knew. I knew that you did that, you know.
Right. Well, I'm just saying a lot of people watching aren't going to know that. That's the kind of commitment I had. And that's why I'm saying, David, it'd be really hard for kids to do what we did again. Because what kid is going to have that kind of commitment to do it? Because you need somebody running it that can keep it together for the long haul. You need other kids, but if you don't have somebody in charge keeping it together, it's not an adult. I don't think you'll ever have what we had.
No, I mean the brotherhood that we had, the all for one that we had, you know, I don't see it going down. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that and when we do talk to these guys, like when we had Andrew on, we had Kelsey on, and we haven't seen these guys in a long time. And when we do have the conversations, it's like we're just stepping back in time, and it's just like it was back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
And I mean,
really is.
And okay, speaking from a third-party perspective, so to speak. Okay, you look at when Charlie was on with us.
Yep.
And you look at when Andrew was on. Okay, granted, Charlie and I came from different eras of the NWF.
As did you and Ace.
As did Ace and I. But we were all brothers, and because we were all NWF, for lack of a better way to put it, it's like when Hulk Hogan had the NWO going.
Yeah, the NWO.
They always used to say, when you're NWO, you're NWO for life.
Right.
Well, you and I are standing evidence that when you were NWF, you're NWF for life.
Right, and it's like for people watching, I don't want people to get the wrong impression, Dave. I don't want them to think that we think we're special to the world. It's not that. It's that interpersonal relationships with us that we had from that time period, amongst ourselves. It was just a bond for us. We know that we're not, famous with a capital F, right? As like the regular guys in the NWA and WWF. I mean, yeah, we made our mark, but we're not trying to fool anybody that way. But
we are a grain of sand compared to what,
Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
New York and.
Yeah.
But, the point that I was trying to make is, Andrew and Ace didn't know me before we stepped on the show.
Yep.
But, because we were all part of the NWF, there's a bond.
Right. It's like our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is full of past wrestlers that were on the show. And in the beginning, with our Facebook group, it was just the alumni. But then I thought, let's open it up to everybody. So now we have a lot of fans and everything in there. But the guys that were on the show, though, even though we haven't talked to each other a lot of times, a lot of these guys that are in our Facebook group, but they're a part of it because it's part of their history. And it's part of that connection like you're talking about. And we just carry it with us,
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to come on this show, because not everybody, like Terry Black, some of these guys just aren't not necessarily comfortable being on video and stuff, but they still have that brotherhood of the NWF that we're talking about. They're just not into being on the public, or on video.
Right.
And that's totally fine. I'm never going to hold that against anybody for not coming on our Rewind show,
Well, and just to let those guys know, your Terry Blocks and the ones that aren't down with coming on the show.
Yeah.
I'm going to let a little cat out of the bag. It's something you and I have been talking about behind the scenes for a while. But, to our brothers who don't want to be on camera, Crusher is coming back to Minnesota in August. And for all the guys that have been a part of the league, we'd love to get together somewhere.
Yep. And we've done it before. We've had get-togethers, so that'd be fun. We don't always record them, but they've definitely done get-togethers in the past. So.
And, if you're not comfortable being on camera, let's just all find a place to get together. I mean,
yep.
Sorry to word it this way. I mean, I know it won't be the best for some of us, but Hans Bakery is still there.
Yeah. Although it's under new management, I hear it's something that's not quite the same, I guess.
Well, I'm just saying Hans because of Hans
the
has
history
with the NWF.
I wish Dell's Pizza was still there, where we had our actual pizza party after the October card.
Oh yeah, I mean the building's
Yeah.
still there. I believe it's a bar or something.
Right. And Backstreet, all the good pizza places in Anoka have seemed to have left. Backstreet, Lord Jim's, Hollywood, those were all good places.
Okay, we got a Facebook user.
I think that might be our friend Tom Huben. Do a picnic in the park as a get-together. Yeah. I mean, I know the last time, Dave, we did a get-together that I remember, though, we did a Chris Downs had a pizza place, just like he does now, only it was another place. And he said, let's do a get-together, have it here, and I'll cook the pizzas. Now, I wanted to pay for them, but Chris, one of those things where Chris insisted that it's on the house.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of guys show up for the pizza party. Charlie was there, myself, Sergeant Smash, Chris Hansen, one of the Russian destroyers, Boris, and one of them got one of the two Russians that was Jim Owens. Yeah, so it was fun. Yeah. We had a good time. That was the last one I remember. We didn't video this or anything. It was just kind of a fun get together. But I suppose we're kind of hitting the clock tonight. We should probably.
Yeah, we're pushing 2 hours tonight, which is an oddity for us.
Yeah, we usually don't. Next week might be a little more shorter of a show just because.
I have some prior commitments.
Dave's got some commitments and stuff with family, so we might cut her short that night next week. But after we get done,
I'll just say this: I'm going to have my Dixie Chicks here.
Yep. And Dave, I must say, I like the shirt, Superstar Spectacular '86.
Hey, available on the NWF website.
And I gotta say, this is my favorite NWF shirt. I just love the rustic, just white look to that logo.
I'm going to need to talk to my agent about getting me more shirts.
Well, yeah, the committee might be able to help you with that shirt.
Gizmo, thank you for watching us. I mean,
thanks for everybody watching. There's a lot of people that aren't commenting, by the way, Dave, watching.
This show doesn't happen without you guys. Without you guys, this is just Crusher and I sitting here having one of our usual BS conversations.
And Dave and I have these conversations all the time during the week. So, but
as a matter of fact, last night we actually sat in our test studio, just BSing away, watching the show.
Yeah, because tonight, folks, just so you know, a little behind the scenes talk. Dave, usually I host the stream. Tonight, Dave hosted the stream. So just trying some different things, seeing if internet connections are better or worse. And so we had Dave host it tonight.
The show's still in its infancy. So, we're doing tweaks just to see how we can make things better.
Yeah. I know, just so you guys know, we're aware of the stuttering that happens sometimes on our replays. We're just trying to identify what it is exactly. I usually don't see it till I watch it afterwards. I don't know if it did it tonight, but I do have a solution for that. It's the last resort solution. So that's why we're letting Dave host it tonight, see if that works. But if it still becomes an issue, I do have a way to fix that. That's just we got to go to a different streaming platform. So something that I'm thinking about.
But, once again, we would like to thank you fans for joining us.
Yep.
And until next week, we'll see you later.
Yep. Have a good night, folks. Thanks for watching.